I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen this yet, but for the past few days, a longtime friend of Gene Hackman and fellow Hollywood legend Randy Quaid has been speaking out about Gene Hackman's death. And he says that Gene Hackman was murdered. And he's pretty adamant about it. Now, when I first saw this a couple of days ago, I didn't want to read too much into it because I thought for sure that there would be a logical explanation behind Gene and his wife's deaths. I thought for certain that it would be revealed that it was carbon monoxide poisoning. But once that got taken off the table, that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to start diving into this story because there's definitely something weird here. And folks, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. If you don't ask questions, you will never get any answers. Have you ever heard the saying, a closed mouth doesn't get fed? So, if you ask me, yeah, I think it was nice to be respectful for the first couple of days, to wait for some details to come out. But now that law enforcement and investigators have taken all of these, more innocent possibilities off of the table, and now that we've already gotten some inconsistencies in the story, for example, they said the front door was open, now it's the back door. They said the dog was in a closet, now it's a kennel. Now I feel like it's only right that we start asking questions. And folks, if something weird like this ever happens to me, I don't want all of that kumbaya, let's be respectful, let's not, we don't want to speculate, no, let's wait for the autopsy. I don't want none of that BS. Ask questions. If something weird happens to me, I think you're better off asking questions than not, okay? I understand that, there's certain places that you don't need to take it. And if you've been watching my channel, you know I don't take it to those places. And I will call people out if they do. But it is healthy to ask questions. What do you think investigators are doing? They're asking questions. And like I said, if anything mysterious ever happens to me, each and every one of you better be out here asking some freaking questions. I don't want all of that peaceful kumbaya BS because that's not how cases get solved. But anyways, back to Randy Quaid. So Randy Quaid is kind of going off. No holds bar, not pulling any punches. He's saying he was murdered, and now Randy Quaid has gone so far as to say that he has some leads on who may have done it. Let's go ahead and dive into some of these social media posts, shall we? Gene Hackman, his wife, and guard dog are all found dead. Hey, Hollywood, anyone else upset, furious, and deeply concerned? I always find it funny that there's always these weird, mysterious deaths in Hollywood, right? There's always these weird, mysterious deaths in Hollywood, yet the people in Hollywood never question anything. They will go on their microphone, they will feed you all of these political talking points and propaganda, right? They'll force feed you their opinions on Donald Trump or on this or on that. But when it comes to their co-workers, friends, and associates mysteriously dying all the time, they never have anything to say. It's kind of awkward. And look, when it comes to Gene Hackman, it's like the dude was 95 years old. So I don't necessarily think that, something, how can I put this? There's always these weird, mysterious deaths in Hollywood, and most of them, if you ask me, they're not natural. Why some of these people get knocked off, I can't tell you. I can tell you, some of my theories. I think a lot of these Hollywood people, they sign their name on a dotted line, and sometimes they know when it's their time to go. I think they give things in exchange for other things. Let's just put it like that. I think that often there's money involved, royalties and certain things involved. There's an incentive sometimes to end famous people's lives early because you can make more money off of them dead than alive. Now, when it comes to Gene Hackman, I don't necessarily look at the situation from that angle because Gene Hackman was a 95-year-old man that was close to death already. But you got to realize that Gene Hackman had a lot of money to leave behind. And who is that money going to go to? Probably his wife. Now his wife is gone too. So there is a possible motive here. Money's always a motive, right? So it does make you question things, but it's like when you look at Gene Hackman's age, it's like, okay, but whatever. Let's go ahead and dive into some more of what Randy Quaid had to say. Gene Hackman has one of the biggest royalty streams in Hollywood. I suspect murder. When an actor like Gene Hackman is murdered and clips of his films are all run on all the networks, it only distracts from the murder investigation and the fact that Gene died a terrible, horrible death. In reality, the clip licensing only generates profits for the alleged murderers. Do you think Gene Hackman would care that fake news says he was a great actor? Or would he rather they figure out who killed him? I mean, he's making a good point there. And you see, when one of these famous people die, it generates a lot of revenue, right? Like sometimes you have a famous singer or a famous actor, they're not really generating that much money anymore. Maybe they were a big hit back in the day. So now, the people who kind of own these famous people, the people who kind of have ownership over these celebrities, their money has kind of run dry. This celebrity is no longer profitable to us, at least alive. Because when a famous singer dies, and you maybe didn't listen to their music for the last 20 years, when that famous singer dies, you're gonna start streaming their music again. When Gene Hackman died, the first thing I wanted to do was sit down and have a Gene Hackman movie marathon. So sometimes these celebrities, I don't want to say they get washed up, but they're no longer generating profit for these big organizations and companies and record labels and movie studios. And at some point, it becomes more profitable for these record labels and these movie studios and everything. It becomes more profitable for you to be dead. Because then you don't got to get any of the money. We don't got to pay you any royalties anymore. Many of these people don't have really good contracts to where their family is going to get this or get that. Many of these famous people were screwed from day one when they signed their name on a dotted line in a bad contract. So they realize that these celebrities, they become more profitable once they're dead. Because, hey, no one's streaming your music. No one's watching your movies. We're going to go ahead and knock you off. We don't got to pay you royalties anymore. And now everyone's going to start listening to your music and watching your movies again. Now, I'm not saying that this is what happened with Gene Hackman. I'm just putting it out there. This is the mentality, the thought process behind it. This is how, killing off someone like Gene Hackman, this is how it could be profitable to people behind the scenes. But once again, I'm not saying that's the case. However, Randy Quaid is saying that that is definitely the case. But let's take a look at another post. Gene Hackman and his wife are murder victims. Some scumbags did it and staged it. Stop talking about the films he is in. This is how they get away with murdering famous people. Fake news starts generating film clips. How is it possible I know at least 6 people who have died, like Carradine, Hackman, and Ledger? He goes on to say, I should become a special FBI agent to these investigations of Hollywood murders. I already have some good leads on who killed Gene Hackman. Good lead? Oh, all right. Let's rewind it back. Let's rewind it back a little bit. Because first, Randy makes the claim that some scumbags killed Gene Hackman and his wife, and then they kind of set up a scene to make it look like an accident. Now, I personally don't think that that's the case necessarily, although it's possible, but we haven't seen the scene ourselves, but hearing about the scene, it makes you kind of wonder. Because we have Gene Hackman lying on the ground in the mudroom. Then we have his wife, who's not in the same room as him. She's on the ground as well. You got a dog put up, a dog that could have maybe defended Gene Hackman and his wife, a dog that may have barked, caused a problem. You got these pills that are strewn about to make it look like, Betsy just OD'd or something. But the weird part is, it looks like both of these individuals had to take a fall, yet there's no real, at least from what investigators have said, if we're believing what investigators have said, there's no signs of physical trauma. There's not even signs that would indicate that these two had a hard fall. Now, someone Gene Hackman's age, if they fall, there should be signs. Okay? Someone Gene Hackman's age, you could touch them and they bruise. So I feel like there should be signs that Gene Hackman fell. Now, maybe there are signs and we don't know it yet, but just from what we've been told initially, there's no physical marks on either one of these two individuals. So it makes you wonder, were they placed there? Is this a staged scene? I don't necessarily think it is, but I understand why some people would come to that conclusion, because there's definitely something weird about all of this. Now, as far as all of these movie clips and everything steering the conversation away from where the conversation should be, I agree with it. I mean, listen, I understand honoring someone's life. Hey, Gene Hackman just passed away. He's a famous actor. Of course we're going to play clips of his movies. But at the same time, I understand how that can drive the conversation into a different direction. Now everyone's kind of nostalgic. They're talking about their favorite Gene Hackman movie. And people aren't having the conversation about the mysterious details surrounding his death. Instead, it's like the media is steering the conversation into, oh, man, I love that Randy Quaid movie. Oh, that movie was great. Oh, man, he was great in that. Instead of, hey, what in the hell just happened to him and his wife? So I get what Randy is saying there. I do think that that is a possibility, that is happening, and they're purposely doing it to steer the conversation away from where the conversation should be. Now, in his last post, which was yesterday, Randy Quaid makes the bold claim that he has some leads on who may be doing this. I don't know what he means by that. When he says he has leads, does he really have leads? Does he know something personally? Does he know of a group of people that do stuff like this? Or does he have the same lead that I have and that you have? Basically, that lead being that, hey, yeah, there's a lot of shady stuff that goes on in Hollywood, and there's people behind the scenes that do evil, crazy things. Is that the lead he has? Is your lead that Hollywood is corrupt and they do stuff like what happened to Gene Hackman? Not saying they did that to Gene Hackman, but we know that they knock people off all the time. Is that what Randy Quaid is saying here? Or does Randy Quaid have some more specific information? Now, some people may think that he's just blowing steam. And to be fair, maybe he is. But he's closer to this situation and closer to Hollywood than any of us. And people like Randy Quaid, a lot of people like to say, oh, they're crazy, they're this, they're that. I respect people like Randy Quaid because it's obvious that he didn't want anything to do with some of the wicked stuff that goes on in Hollywood. There are famous actors and celebrities out there who have distanced themselves from Hollywood over the years. Gene Hackman had started distancing himself as well. So I know they try to paint Randy Quaid in a certain light, but much of that is because he defected. He kind of ran away from Hollywood and started exposing some things, and he's not afraid to speak his mind. So I just thought it would be interesting to go over that information. I want to know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.